Health rocks. Inspired to be substance free.
For the last 2 weeks, we've been talking about the effects that drugs, alcohol, and tobacco can have on our bodies. We've talked about other risks, what can happen if we get caught, how that can affect our future, our family, our friends. Today, we're going to be talking about how drugs, alcohol, tobacco products can affect our brains. So, what's inside of our brain? Well, there's a lot, right? So, even though our brain makes up a small part of our body, it takes care of more complicated things than many computers do. It can perform more jobs than the most powerful computer. Your brain directs everything that's happening in your body. The things you think about, like picking up your hand, picking up a cup, the things you don't think about, like breathing. So your brain is the control center for your body. It controls everything. And unfortunately, consuming alcohol, using tobacco products or drugs can really affect how your brain handles things. So one of the things that we're going to talk about in this lesson is a small component of your brain called a neuron. So we're going to do a little activity after the video that will help you visualize what a neuron is. So we're going to go over this a little bit. You're going to get some chenille stems. May not be this color. You're going to be given 5 of them. And so what you're going to do with these, you're going to get 5 different colors. You are going to make a neuron. So I'm going to kind of go through it here with you, and then you're going to be able to do it on your own. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take one of your chenille stems and you're going to roll it into a little ball. You see my little red one here in the middle. This is going to represent the cell body. So that's where you're going to start. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to take another one and you're going to put it through the center of that cell body until it's halfway through, and then you're going to fold it in half and you're going to twist it. You can't see it, but that's my little white one here. And that is going to represent the axon. Next, you're going to take another one and you're going to cut it into 4 to 6 pieces, and you're going to stick those little pieces into your cell body. Now these are the dendrites. Now they're shorter than the axon, which is this long piece here. Some of them might be twisted. I tried to give this one a little bit of a twist so you could see it. I don't know if you can really see how I managed to twist that one or not. So these dendrites are part of your neuron. Now what the neuron does, the basic process of the neuron kind of works like a telephone, okay? So this is on the receiving end, like the dendrites here in the cell. Like if you're calling on the phone, you've got somebody on the receiving end. That's the dendrites of these cells. They're going to receive the information. The mouthpiece is what would go here through the axon. So that's how the signal is getting sent. Okay? So it's received in the dendrites and sent through the axon. Messages can also be sent through the axon and received at the dendrites. Now we've got another color here, and I've got it wrapped around the axon. This represents the myelin sheath. The myelin sheath is kind of like insulation on a cord. So it's going to make sure it's wrapped around the axon here, and it's going to help keep that electric current moving through the axon. The last thing we've got here is another little ball down here on the end, and this is the axon terminal, or the presynaptic terminal. This is kind of the end. So you guys are going to go ahead and put together one of these once we're done with the video. Now messages in our brain travels through these neurons. It's going to travel from the cell body down the axon to the axon terminal in the form of electrical impulses. From there, the message is sent to other neurons with the help of a chemical called neurotransmitters. So in the brain, these neurons are connected. So it'll be one, and it'll be connected to another one, and they make long chains. This can be related to how people communicate. So if we're talking to somebody, you've got a sender and you've got a receiver. We've played a game before regarding that. So that's kind of what these are. They're the senders and the receivers in your brain. The use of chemicals can interrupt these little senders and receivers. It can use of chemicals can interrupt those neurotransmitters, which are chemicals in themselves. So the addition of a different chemical can really harm that. It kind of block the transmissions or kind of mess them up and get them a little bit mixed up. So today we're going to be showing you how being intoxicated can impair your judgment and affect how you can complete some tasks. This is my daughter Daphne. She's going to be helping me out today. She's going to wear impairment goggles, and we have those right here. These impairment goggles simulate having a blood alcohol level of 0.08 to 0.15. And what these goggles do is they really mess with your depth perception and kind of make everything look a little bit fuzzy. So I'm going to have Daphne complete a few tasks without using the goggles, so you can see how easy these tasks would be for a person who is not intoxicated, somebody who has not had anything to drink or taken any sort of drugs. Then I'm going to have her put the impairment goggles on, and this is going to simulate having a few drinks and how it changes how these tasks are completed. So the first thing I'm going to have Daphne do is just walk along this line, heel to toe. And we'll see, she doesn't really have any problem doing this. It's a fairly easy task. No problem, right? All right. Next thing I'm going to have her do, I'm going to have her go back there again, and I'm going to throw this ball to her and have her throw the ball back to me. No problem. Okay, so the next thing Daphne is going to do now is she's going to take these cups and she's going to stack them up for us. Now, we're not going to time her on this because really we're just wanting to see how she does it, how comfortable she feels doing it. We can see that she's not shaking. She's not having any problem doing this. She's going to stack the cups right up. And you can see it's a fairly easy task for her to accomplish. Okay, good. The final task that I'm going to have her do is to pick up small objects. So in this cup I have 10 pennies, and I'm just going to put them out here on the table, and I'm going to ask her to pick them up and put them back in the cup. Oh, one almost got away. Okay, so you can see, again, this is a task that is not very hard for her to complete. She's able to very easily pick up the pennies and put them back in the cup. All right, now I'm going to have Daphne take the goggles, and she's going to do these tasks over again. And we'll see there is a bit of a difference as she completes the tasks this time. Are you ready? Okay, first thing she's going to do is try to walk on that line. You can see she's a little more wobbly this time. She's having trouble keeping her feet on the line and maybe a little trouble keeping her balance. Okay, go ahead and back up a little bit. Next, we're going to throw the ball to her, and we're going to have her throw it back and see how she does with that. Ready? Okay, all right, so she accomplished that without too much trouble. Next thing she's going to do is she's going to stack up these cups for us. So let's see how she does that. She's not doing too bad, but you can see that her cups are not quite as balanced as they were the first time. They're not as centered. But she did get her stack. Oh, I almost spoke too soon. She did get her stack all the way up. So the next thing, as soon as she gets her cups put away, we'll have her go ahead and pick up the pennies again. Wait, let me sprinkle around again. Okay, go ahead. All right, so you see she's having to use a little bit of a different method this time to find the pennies to pick them up. That's because where you're seeing the items is not really necessarily where they are. Okay, thank you, Daphne. So this is to show you that even though you might feel okay and you might feel like you're doing fine, let's say you've had a couple of drinks and people say, I'm fine, I can drive. This is to show you that you might think you're okay, but really that perception is off and you're not as good as you might think you are. As we can see from Daphne's demonstration, the use of drugs, alcohol, not only can affect how we speak and how our brain receives signals, it can also affect how we see things and how we can function. So our communication skills are not the only signals that might get mixed up when we use drugs or alcohol. Drugs are chemicals and they mess with the chemical balance in your brain. Alcohol and drugs can mix up the neurons in the brain. When this happens, impairment occurs. Impairment is when you are in a weakened or a diminished physical or mental state. As we could kind of see with the impairment goggles, how they affected Daphne and how she was able to complete the tasks. She wasn't at her physical or mental best when she went to complete those tasks. So I hope this gives you something to think about. And remember, if you happen to be out with friends and somebody has had maybe a drink or two and they say they're fine to drive, please remember they are not. They are impaired and their judgment will be impaired. The neurons in their brain could possibly be getting mixed up signals. So please be safe and remember, do not drive while impaired, whether with drugs or alcohol.